Thank you so much, Vix, for being with us today.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in front of this audience. Maraming salamat po. I believe that you're a Filipino. You've been here for quite some time, so it's easy to talk to you this afternoon.
Oh, thank you so much for that. So one thing we would like to understand, there has been a lot of PR around the e-governance. So would like to understand more a bit from you, being part of DICT. So what are the initiatives taken by the government in e-governance space?
For the information of everyone, I don't know if you're very familiar with what the ICT has been doing. We just recently launched the eGov super app last month, together with the president in Malacanang, about June 2 of this, during the ICT month. So what basically is the super app? We all know as Filipinos that it has been a tradition that the problems and challenges for each and every Filipino when we go and transact with the government, it's not citizen-centric. It's more of a difficult issue moving forward. Just like, for example, if you get your NBI clearance and the different clearances, for example, you'd have to be out of your work for at least a day just to process them. And the technology is there, so basically we just made sure that all the systems in the government right now are digitally transformed. So that's why we made the eGov super app to make it accessible so that every Filipino can access them, whether they're at their comforts of their homes or in the offices. So that's what basically DICT is doing right now.
I've heard a lot about corporate talking about customer centricity, but really great talking about citizen experience and citizen centricity. I would say that is completely different what I've heard from corporate. But one question, how did you zero in on this super app? Where did it all start?
Well, the mandate of digital transformation in the country right now, as you can see, it's very important. Digital transformation is a journey. And once you undertake that particular journey, it's very important that you have the support from the upper ranks of the government. And we are very fortunate that the president's mandate is now digitally, it's now more keen to digital transformation. So he instructed the Department of Information and Communications Technology, headed by Secretary Ivan John Uy, and of course my boss, Undersecretary David Almirol Jr. There's just one mandate that he said to us: stop the long lines, get online. So basically, it's really serving the Filipino people. It's making them the center of the development. Actually, not the government itself, but it's really for the Filipino people.
So what are the typical services that citizens can avail with eGov super app?
Right now, the super app, you can download it in both iOS and Play Store. Basically, it's already your digital ID. It's your digital Filipino ID. And at the same time, you can also access your SSS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, and so many other things to be installed in the next phases. But that is what is available right now. And then you can also access your local government units. Whether you are paying for your taxes, that's the future for the eGov super app.
But isn't it a humongous task, because there are so many departments, so many LGOs? I have heard, or read somewhere that there are about 450 departments or so. How easy it is to stitch together with all these LGOs, because everybody should come on board with the same initiative.
In the government, it's difficult for everybody to get on board. That's why we need a very strong political will when it comes to digital transformation, because there are a lot of, I don't blame the government workers to be in love with legacy systems, with the paper and pencil based transactions, but it's really time to move forward. And if we don't do this at this present day and age, then we would lag behind when it comes to economic development. In fact, early this morning, I also delivered a speech in Sofitel, and I was with the president, and we launched the Green Lane services for all the investors. Because in order for us to really have this momentum of sustainable growth, digital transformation should be the core of everything that we do right now and make things interoperable. So it's digital transformation in the sense of the government needs political will. And that is what is most difficult. Like, let me share to you a story. Because Yusek Dave is the one leading the team, developing all the super apps, the super apps microservices, and of course the super app itself. So he told me, Wix, I'm gonna be gone for about a week. We're gonna do some development. So I told him, okay, you're doing your hackathon. The team also, in part of the Government Digital Transformation Bureau, I told him, while you're doing the hackathon, we're also doing the policy hackathon. Because it's different in government. It's really difficult to navigate, but we make sure that whatever they develop, there are also corresponding policies. And of course, just like, for example, it's an end-to-end system. The eGov super app will also have the egovph, for example. The egovph is already done when it comes to the technology. It's already developed, but we have a difficulty when it comes to the policies. So that is where the development comes in, and we need to also have that sense of policy making and really the political will to actually do it.
Thank you for that. So to just differentiate between a corporate as well as government, where the startups typically just do development. I mean, that is an easy choice, right? Whereas here, as you said, there should be a policy hackathon in parallel to the development. So the constraints are not only on the digital side, but the constraints are also on the policy side. That is really interesting, and probably that is one of the takeaways from this session. The second point that I would like to ask you is, because there is a lot of data that you have about the citizens, right? So how easy it is to provide a secure environment for the citizens? Because entire data about their SSS, PhilHealth, their savings, all the data can come into this super app. So if you can elaborate a bit on security measures, that will be great and helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. You know, the DICT, your DICT is, we have the Cybersecurity Bureau, you have the Government Digital Transformation Bureau, and one of the attached agencies of DICT is actually the Data Privacy Commission. So once we do develop systems, for example, for example, the super app, we do it by cybersecurity by design and data privacy by design. But you know what? I'm not going to elaborate as to how we protect your data. You are rest assured that we are following the international standards and protocols when it comes to cybersecurity. But of course, I'm not going to divulge here the strategies. You know.
Thanks for the assurance, though. Yeah. So when it comes to, again, any business, right? So we talk about personalization, creating that personalized experience to each and every user or customer. So what are some of the areas that you're looking at in terms of personalizing that experience to each and every citizen? So how do you look at that?
This is very important for us to understand that your government is not just wasting money, digitalizing all the necessary services of the government. We do it this way. The digital transformation journey is this way. Before we come in, the DICT, we make sure that the government or the agency's processes are streamlined. We don't do digital transformation without streamlining of the process. Because Like for example, when you go to a certain, you go for an NBI clearance, and then the steps are 10 steps, right? And then you digitally transform it, but you still have the 10 steps with them, with that particular system. So that is not actually the right way to do it. So they're streamlining first, and then you do digital transformation. So why do we do that? We do that because we want to understand our customers, the Filipino people. We know that you are very frustrated with the current system, and I am too. That's why we butt our heads and we really make way to solve this pressing problem. And I am a Filipino, 100% Filipino. They told me
My
that
heart is Filipino.
I look like a foreigner, but I'm 100% Filipino. So I understand each and everybody's sentiment, because I too, I am required to get to the long lines, right? So that's the frustration.
Anything for us, on visa services, Mr. Gordon, with eGov Super App?
Yeah, the eGov Super App right now is on its second phase. We are developing the e-visa system for the foreigners that comes into the country. In fact, one of the solutions, I don't know if you guys have went revenge traveling right now. Before when we go out of the country, we do the forms, right? There's so many forms that we need to actually fill up, but there's a simple solution that we did. We launched the e-travel, which really harmonizes everything. It's not a rocket science solution. It's not a rocket science solution or a technology that is very sophisticated. But what it required is that for all government agencies involved, DOT, BOI, the Bureau of Immigration, it's really making this meaningful collaboration. Because if there's no meaningful collaboration, there is no actual integration and interoperability, and that's where the government is being challenged at. So DICT now is really here to cross that divide, and we need to make more collaborative efforts to unite all the agencies and departments.
So will this be only for citizens, or will it also be for SMEs or enterprises can also use these services from the app?
Yes, of course. Just as I told you earlier, that the president launched the green lanes for the investors, so the investors can actually use it. In fact, your eGov Super App, I think in the third phase, you can upload your CVs or your resumes, and then the app itself will look for jobs for you to apply. So that's how we think. Because at the end of the day, a jobless Filipino is a liability to the country. And for us to really move forward is that the country takes an approach that is not just a bystander looking at the private sector doing their thing. That's why I'm a firm believer that in order for us to move forward, there should be a strong government and private partnership.
And one of the areas when it comes to citizen experience, right? Generally, citizens come to the government agencies to have the service. So is there anything planned around communicating the citizens proactively through the app?
Yes, of course. In fact, one of that is the, for example, in cases like there's also push notifications, right? Like if there's a storm coming, and if there's a need for that citizen, like for example, we have a wallet for all the IDs in the eGov Super App. If your license is actually expiring, then it will notify you. So basically, those are the small things that you can do for the Filipino people that they actually enjoy it, even at that very, very small initiative from the government. I think it's a great way to start our relationship again, because right now I can tell you that the systems are not 100% interoperable, and that's why we have the eGov Super App. So slowly but surely, it's not It's not a 1 month thing, but it's actually years. In fact, I was in a foreign travel last week, and SingPass was presented. The Hong Kong Octopus Card was presented. Thailand presented their digital transformation efforts. In fact, Thailand, for their digital IDs, it took them 12 years to develop their digital IDs. So it's a very interesting time for the Philippines because, as you all know, your DICT is not that old. It's not mature. We're just 7 years old. 7 years pa lang po ang DICT, but we have 5 secretaries already. So can you just imagine, we're not just doing digital transformation, but we have also transformation of leadership every now and then. So I hope that for it to be sustainable, Secretary Ivan should stay there for a while, and then all the leaders should actually have their programs implemented. So I think that's a good thing about the ICT today.
So for me, whenever somebody says Philippines, right? I have been here for 7 years now, and so whenever somebody says Philippines, 2-3 things come to my mind. One, fun in the Philippines, more fun in the Philippines. Second is like warmth and hospitality, right? So while you have elaborated with the Super App, so many services will be delivered digitally. How do you manage, or how do you balance that personal touch of the service to the citizens? Do you think there need to be a balance between completely digitizing the service and this personal touch?
If I'm not mistaken, this is a Miss Universe question. Okay, so really, you can't really. The Philippines is very warm. In fact, one of the answers of the Miss Universe says that the Filipino is its treasure, you know. So basically, we want to go to the office and we want to see the person who's processing our papers. We don't take that away. In fact, the goal of digital transformation is for the people to have different modes of transaction, how to transact to the government. So that is what we are giving, because there are still people who would want that physical touch. And I mean, the Filipinos are not just only very warm when you're talking to. We are also warm when you are texting us, when you're messaging us. I think you can feel that warmth. And but to answer your question, there must be a balance, and that balance later on we will feel that when all the projects and are implemented already. So it should be a balance of both. And I thank you for loving the Philippines. You find the Philippines enjoyable, and I hope that we continue to deliver as DICT and make everybody's lives easier.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy for all my Filipino friends and citizens, for sure. Thank you for your time. Taking your time within your busy schedule. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat. Dagang salamat. Thank you.
Thank you.